So here's the truth. 92% of all real estate agents have already quit on their goals this year, just after 2 weeks of getting started into this year. You see, National Quitters Day was just last week. It was on January 10th. And study after study after study shows us that only about 8% of the people who have these New Year's resolutions actually follow through with them after the first month of the year. And so the question is why? Why does this keep happening year after year after year? Before we jump in, if you haven't got my brand new script book yet, I'm going to put a link right in the description. You can download that for free. And I believe it's because they set desired outcomes that they can't control as the goal. And so they want to, as an example, they want to earn $100,000. They want to lose 20 pounds. They want to buy a new home. These are all great. They're all outcomes. These are all things that we can't necessarily control. And so when they're outcomes, the real secret to goal achievement is to set action-based goals that lead to the desired outcome. And we're going to talk all about that in today's video. In other words, what are the habits that you do control that if you do them consistently, the outcomes take care of themselves? And there's a couple really good quotes that I love. One is from Aristotle. He says, "We are what we repeatedly do." And my favorite from Benjamin Franklin, "Your net worth to the world is usually determined by what remains when your bad habits are subtracted from your good ones." And so when we look at what most real estate agents do, they are consistently doing bad habits. They're much more consistent doing the bad habits than good ones. And as a result, they end up getting more of what they say they don't want. In other words, they say, okay, when it comes to consistency, we know how important consistency is. We know that top producers in the business of real estate sales all tell you the exact same thing. It isn't that because they're in a better market. It isn't because they're smarter. It isn't that they're operating with more or different information than you have. It's none of that. It's because they're simply more consistent in the thing that they're doing, which we're going to talk about, the one thing that is contributing to the desired outcome. And the bottom producers, the ones that maybe fail out of the industry year after year, or the ones that get to the end of the year and aren't happy with where they are, it's a result of them consistently not doing the habits that would lead to the outcomes that they want. And so there's this concept that we're going to explain to you in today's video. We're going to spend a lot of time on this, which is called cause and effect. Now, you've heard that before, but how does that pertain to goal achievement? And so let me explain. So just as an example, if the desired outcome was to lose 20 pounds, and this is how most real estate agents set and fail to hit goals, is they have this desired outcome, which is an effect. It's a lagging indicator. They don't have a plan, which is the cause that would lead to the outcome. So if the effect was, I want to lose 20 pounds, what would the cause be? What would the leading indicators be? What would be the things, the actions that would lead to the effect? What would the cause be that would lead to the effect? And you would tell me things like, well, being in a 500 calorie deficit per day. That's 3,500 calories per week, which is typically the loss of 1 pound. You would tell me, well, to walk 10,000 steps. If you were to do that for 7 days a week, you would burn 3,500 calories per week. You would talk about working out 3 days per week and building lean tissue. The point is, if you look at the causes, the leading indicators, what's the key thing? These are things that we can control. And so in this video, the big idea is to make the cause the goal. Make the leading indicator the goal. Make the actions the goal. You've heard this 1,000 times before, that a goal without a plan is simply a dream. And so let's look at this in practical terms and how to apply this in our business. I've been talking to a lot of you who've been reaching out to me for coaching lately. And like it is every single year, a lot of the goals I'm hearing is to get to that magic 6-figure number. That's like the desired outcome, is to go from $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 per year to get to that $10,000, $15,000 a month in income as fast as possible. So let's talk about exactly what this is going to look like so it becomes impossible for you not to achieve that desired outcome. All right. So again, we look at this desired outcome of 100K per year. Now, we know that, like we talked about before, is that most agents are giving up on this goal just 1 month into the year. And again, that's because they don't have a plan. There's nothing tangible that would allow them to see whether or not they're on pace for the goal or they're not on pace for the goal. And so it's just outcome driven. There's no action plan. And so here's how to actually set goals. All right. So we're going to do what Stephen Covey talks about, which is to begin with the end in mind. In other words, when I coach an agent, instead of saying, okay, well, what do you, how much money, let's just say, how much money do you earn now? And how much do you want? And then there's this gap in the middle. This is where there's a huge, huge, huge disconnect. All right. So we're actually going to do this a different way. That if you follow this plan, again, it becomes impossible for you not to achieve the goal. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say, all right, if cause and effect is true, which it is, what is the leading cause that would, if I do it on a consistent basis and it becomes a habit, what is that would lead to my goal? All right. So we have to talk about in our business. We're not talking about losing weight. We're not talking about life goals. We're talking about financial business goals as it relates to your real estate agent business. All right. So what we have to start off with is to say, all right, how much lead generation do we need to do, or are you willing to do rather, on a daily basis? How much of it are you willing to do? And so watch how this works. This becomes the goal. So when it comes to lead generation and prospecting, what can we control? What is the only thing you can control? That becomes a decision as to whether or not you do it on a daily basis or not do it on a daily basis. It isn't the number of contacts. Perhaps it's the number of phone calls. But really, at the end of the day, because we can't control how many people pick up the phone or how many leads you get or how many appointments you set, or you can't control any of that. There's only one thing that you can indeed control, which is the time you spend prospecting. This is the only thing that we can control. And so rather than starting with, okay, what is this desired outcome? We're going to start with, what will you, not can you. Will and can is very, very different. You can prospect a lot. I know you can. And this is where a lot of people get lost, is like, well, I could do a couple hours a day. I know I can do it. That's not the question. How much time will you commit to prospecting every single day throughout the entire year? If you are a full-time real estate agent, all right, there is about 250 working hour days in a full year. All right. This is with holidays, vacations, et cetera, et cetera. So the question is, how much time will you commit to generating conversations with your ideal client avatar? And if you're following this channel, I'm assuming it's because you want to be a listing agent. And so therefore, those conversations are going to be with people who own properties that you want to sell. Would that be fair? All right. So we're going to start off with, how much time will you commit every single day for 250 days per year generating conversations with homeowners? All right. So let's pretend that you say 3 hours. All right, that's fine. 3 hours per day, 250 days a year. All right. Now, 3 times 250, 3 hours times 250 days. This is going to be 750 hours for the year. All right. Now, this isn't, you can't not be consistent and then say something doesn't work. So this is a huge, massive assumption that you are going to do the 3 hours every single day. I will make another video on how to be consistent. That is not this video. All right. What does this mean? What does this mean? If I sat down with you and I said, okay, we're going to start off by talking about the answer to this question, which is how much time are you going to spend prospecting? And you say 3 hours. Okay. What does that mean in terms of results? Well, we know based on the averages that for every 3 hours of outbound prospecting, that would result in about 20 conversations per day because it's about 7 contacts per hour. So we're going to say 7, or we're going to say contacts. This is going to equal 20 per day. All right. 20 per day times 250 gets us to 5,000 for the year. All right. 5,000 for the year. Now, what does that mean? If we talk to 20 people and you're halfway decent on the phone and you've got some decent sales skills, what does that mean? That means that you should be able to convert about 10% of those conversations into an actual seller lead. A seller lead meaning that you talk to somebody who tells you they have a specific reason why they want to move. They don't have a real estate agent that they're working with. They've agreed to meet with you when the time is right to interview you, and they have a specific time frame as to when they want to do that. All right. So we're 10%, which means that when it comes to leads, you should be able to generate or convert 2 per day, right? Or over the course of a year, that's 500 for the year. You with me so far? Okay. So what does that actually mean in terms of appointments set? Well, we know based on the averages, all right, that about 20% of the leads you generate should turn into an actual appointment set. So if we look at 500 for the year, 20% of 500 is about 100 appointments set for the year. Now, we know that not every single appointment that you set is going to come to fruition. So on average, it's about 50% or half. So half of 100 is about 50 appointments that this agent would go on in person, okay, based on their 3-hour commitment per day. Now, do you list every single property that you go on? Do you win every single listing appointment? Well, some of you right now are like, yes, I do, Brandon. I have 100% conversion. I know. When you listed grandma's house and your cousin's Johnny's house, and you had 2 sales for the year, I would hope that you have 100% conversion. Now, jokes aside, when you start going on 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 listing appointments a year, your conversion will not be 100. Okay. NAR has the industry at 25% or 1 out of 4. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that you're better than that, and you're going to get 50%, half. Okay. So listings taken, if you met with 50 people over the course of a year as a result of your 3 hours of prospecting per day, you should be able to take 25 listings for the year. Now, not all of those are going to sell. I know you're going to tell me, yeah, right, Brandon, I sell everything I list. Again, if you do 5 deals a year, I would hope so. But if you list 25, not every single one of them is going to sell. We see on average about 80%. So this agent should sell about 20 units. Now, right now, you should have a major aha moment. If you're looking at screen and you're actually paying attention and you're actually watching this video, trying to get a result from the video, from the time you're spending, you should see something that is eye-opening, which is that the number of conversations you have daily typically equals the number of homes you sell annually. Now, I just went through the simple math, and it doesn't matter that typically the number of conversations based on average conversions, you may be better than this, but based on average conversions, the number of people that you talk to on a daily basis typically ends up in being the number of homes you sell annually. And so now you scratch your head and say, okay, that makes a lot of sense. If you're selling 4 houses a year and you're not where you want to be financially, you can look back over the course of the year and say, yeah, I probably talk to a handful of people every day about selling real estate. It just makes sense. Now, if we say that the average commission for this agent, that when they sell a house, we'll say is $10,000, we can do some simple math and say, okay, 20 times 10 is $200,000, right? So this is the whole point of the video. Is now that we have established this is the outcome, all right? This is the effect. This is the effect of which leading indicator or what caused this income to be generated. What was it? What was it? Yes, you can make the argument that all these things had a impact. There's no doubt about it. But what was the thing that actually, what was the domino, the first domino? That's right. It was the 3 hours of prospecting. And so this is why when I sit with an agent to say, okay, let's control the controllable. If we can control and ensure that you spend the time based on how much you can commit, then the goal is what it is. Here's what I see, all right? Agent A, we'll just say Agent A, who's currently making $50K per year right now, says, they use their words, and they say, I want to make $250,000 per year. Fine. And then we look at their actions or their leading indicators, and they prospect, you're going to like this, they prospect never. And this is what we would call cognitive dissonance. And so this is why almost every agent does not hit their goal. It's because the outcome, the effect, the thing they want to happen, there's no leading indicators. There's no input to the output. You with me on this? I hope this makes a lot of sense. And so now moving forward, it's not, okay, well, what do you want to occur? It's what are you willing to do on a consistent basis that would lead to the result? What are you willing to do on a daily basis? You are your habits. You are what you repeatedly do. And the same is true for the opposite. You are repeatedly what you don't do. So if you repeatedly don't prospect every day, what happens? You end up earning money that is less than desirable. If you consistently don't work out, don't take care of your diet, what ends up happening? You end up feeling like absolute hell and in a body that you don't like. And so now moving forward, we take the thing that we actually can control, which is the cause, which is the input, which is the action. And based on that action, we work through the numbers to say, okay, what is obtainable based on the only thing that I can control? It's just like weight loss. If you say, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds in the next 6 months, well, that's all fine and dandy. It's going to come down to what is your calorie deficit per day throughout the duration of the 6 months that will determine how much weight you lose. And that is exactly what we're talking about when we talk about income generation. It's fine and dandy that you want to make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $1 million per year. There's no lack of ambition. Get in line. Most people have this big financial goal this year. My question is, what are you willing to do that is actionable, that you can control, that will determine the outcome?